Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about Spyderco FRNs. I've had several questions in the past and recently I've gotten a couple more asking me to compare the differences between Spyderco FRN knives. The different texturings that they have, the different shapes that are used, and so on. And so in this video I'm going to do that. I'm going to demonstrate the different texturing designs between several different Spydercos. And before doing this video, I was very surprised to find out that one, I have so few Spydercos with FRN handles, and two, that I really only have two different types of texturing. I was just very surprised to find that out, and just thought it would be interesting to share with you guys. So on the top here, we have all the Spyderco knives that have a bi-directional FRN texturing, and on the bottom here we have the Spydercos with the volcano grip texturing. Alright, very different textures between the two, and even within the textures themselves there are some variations, and I'll share that with you very shortly. So first off, I'm just going to go across here and name the knives, and then we're going to take a very up close and detailed look at each individual texture. Alright, so on the left here we have the Spyderco Ladybug in a foliage green. We have the Spyderco Delica 4 full flat ground in the blue. We have a Spyderco Delica 4 in the foliage green. Spyderco Delica 4 waved in a dark blue, Spyderco Endura in the toxic green with the black coated blade, and we have the Spyderco Native. On the bottom here we have the Spyderco Dragonfly, we have the Spyderco Pacific Salt, and we have the Spyderco Matriarch. Alright, black, yellow, and cocoa brown FRN. Alright, so now we're going to go and talk about each texturing up close and personal. Alright, so for the first look, we're going to look at the Spyderco bidirectional FRN texturing. I'm going to be using the new Spyderco Delica 4 full flat ground version as the guinea pig and to show you the detail. Now, pretty much for each of the bidirectional textured FRNs, they're very similar, and the only difference comes with the size of the knife. Alright, so you have, I'm going to use the Delica here since it's right in the middle as the demonstration. But if you look at the Ladybug and you look at the Endura, it's just slightly modified. For the Ladybug, the scales here are just a little bit smaller, and the Endura is just slightly larger. So that's really the only difference. Alright, so as you can see here, the bidirectional texturing is just as it says. The texturing is going in two different directions. Alright, and that's very, very nice. It provides very, very sufficient traction against wet and dry climates and against the oil of your hands. It doesn't allow it to slip easily. And that's achieved because of the way the texturing is designed. Alright, obviously when you grip the knife, your hand is going to push upwards on the top here, and it's going to push back on the bottom to hold the knife securely. And doing that when you open the knife, alright, really helps to aid get a very good grip and easily open and deploy that blade. Alright, as you see here, starting from the left, the texturing is going in towards the center, and starting from the right, it again goes in towards the center. Very, very nice. I like to call it, kind of looks like stadium seating. Alright, you have different levels and it kind of goes down. Right. Each different stadium seat has a little indent in it. Another way to add a little bit of texturing. Or in any way you pull, when you pull outward, it really grips your finger and provides a very secure but comfortable grip. It does the job just as it's supposed to, and it really can't be beat in my opinion. It's a very, very secure grip. Any way you grip it, if you try to go out from the side, go straight back, down, it's all gripping from each direction. Very well thought out and very well designed. And again, that goes for the reverse side as well. Alright, so that's just a look at the bidirectional texturing. Now here's a look at the Spyderco Ladybug with that same bidirectional texturing, and as you can see, like I said, it's just a smaller version of the texturing on the Delica. Alright, same exact design. Texturing is going inward towards the center, and as you pull outward, provides very sufficient traction, allows you to get a very good grip on it. I'm going to bring the Delica in here just to show you the size comparison between the two different types or styles of traction here. Alright. You can just see the Ladybug has a smaller version of that bidirectional texturing. Now on the larger scale with the Endura, it's very close in size to the size of the bidirectional texturing on the Delica, but if you look close enough and spend enough time staring at it like I did, you'll see that each individual stadium seat, as I'd like to call it, is just slightly larger than the Delica. You can also see that there's not as much space in between each individual seat on the Endura as they are on the Delica. It's spaced out more as you get towards the center. Now you do see a little bit of that on the Endura, but it starts earlier on the Delica. Just an interesting comparison between the two. Also wanted to share an interesting find as I was going through Spyderco's website looking at the differences between the FRN textures. The Spyderco native that I have in front of you is also classified as a bidirectional textured FRN handle. Now as you can notice from the FRN that I compared on the Delicas that also had the bidirectional texturing, it's significantly different. Right? The texturing starts out large and becomes very small as you go into the center of the handle, as well as there is no detent in each individual square. Also, the FRN, the bidirectional texturing of each individual scale is not kind of angled in an upward direction, except for when you get farther out towards the end. As you go into the center, it's more just a flat, smooth portion instead of a angled portion. So even though these are both bidirectional textured FRN handles, they're designed slightly different. Alright, the Delica FRN bidirectional textured handle is much more aggressive than that of the native. So just an interesting comparison. Alright, now here's the example of the Spyderco Volcano grip, and for this example we're using the Spyderco Pacific Salt. Alright, now this is the yellow FRN, very cool, very vibrant color. Alright, but as you can see, it's a dramatically different texturing than that bidirectional texturing. Alright, and this is called the Volcano grip, and I'm not specifically sure why it's called that, although the dimples here I guess could look like the top of the volcano if you're looking directly down into it. That's really the only thing I could really think of. But as you can see, very different. Alright, it looks very similar to the dimpling on like a golf ball or something like that. But if you look very closely, you can see at the corners of the squared portion, it's actually almost like a little tooth or a sharp edge, and that's what's providing the traction. Now, between the two grips, they act very different, whereas the bidirectional texturing, as you push or pull, it will secure your grip and really lock you in there. Whereas I find that this Volcano grip just provides a traction and doesn't necessarily lock your hand in any particular position. So as I move my thumb and fingers across the grip, I feel that that traction and that resistance that's created by the edges or the corners of that square, and I can feel the grip. Now it doesn't necessarily lock my hand into place. I'm still able to open the knife easily and quickly because of that grip, but just a slightly different approach to it, I guess. Nothing is wrong with this at all. I've been very happy with it. It provides a very good grip for what the intended use is, but it is a noticeable difference between the two. Now here's an example of the Spyderco Volcano grip on a smaller platform. This is the Spyderco Dragonfly. Now this is an older model, so this may just be an older design of the Volcano grip, but I just found it interesting the differences within the same type of gripping texture. Alright, so as you can see, the actual squares of the grip here of the Volcano texturing are more squared off and don't have that point on each of the corners. And if you take a look at the texturing of the Pacific salt, you can see that the cavity of each individual square is much wider, right? And the edges are a little bit sharper, a little bit pointier looking. Now this may just be a model specific design, but I also found this on the Spyderco Matriarch as well. So just an interesting comparison. Alright, so this is an example of the volcano texturing on the Spyderco Matriarch. Alright, again, just a slight variation from the other two examples that I have. Now you can see that once again the crater of the detent in each individual square here is much wider and slightly deeper. Alright, you can see the edges come to a much more defined point. Right, the actual edge around each square is much thinner. And I'll roll in here the Spyderco Pacific Salts again. Right, you can see that the detents are again much larger on the Matriarch, and the edges are much thinner, creating a sharper surface, which is going to provide a much more grippy texturing. I hope everybody enjoyed the comparisons between the two different types of texturing that Spyderco uses on the FRN, at least I have in my collection. If you guys have any other information or know of different texturings that Spyderco uses, or have examples of that, I'd really like to see that, and I really enjoy talking about that, so you can leave a comment or a video response down below. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.